Hi everyone, welcome to Ancestry Unpacked in Family History Month Down Under. It's August 2026. I'm Fiona Brooker.
And I'm Michelle Patient, and this month we're going to talk about search techniques and public member trees. But before I get into that, we have some breaking news. They've updated the filter for our DNA regions. Hoping you've all got that. Fiona, do you have this yet?
No, I don't have any of the new toys that you've been announcing in the videos lately. I'm
So
totally
I'm
jealous.
really sorry that not everyone has it yet, but it's rolling out. And if you understand the kind of vast volume of data that's being worked on, you kind of get why it's being rolled out to some of us over time rather than everybody in one go. So you can all look forward to seeing this if you've done your DNA and what it's added to. And this is my DNA match here. And you'll even get a little green symbol. So if you haven't had that little dialog box turn up first, you're going to see a green symbol. So anywhere you see green, it either means you've got the Pro Tools like I have, or something new has happened. You can always click on these things without doing any damage, but to learn more. So click on it, and you'll see in the right-hand side pops out where I usually filter things. And it's pointing me to the area that's new. And you'll see it's partway down where it says regions. And if I click on it, it will show me I can filter by region. So if I want to just look for my mum's Scottish relatives, I can click on that, or just the group from Southern Wales, is a new region to my mum's DNA, and I also know it's on one of her unknown lines, really helpful towards the clustering. So look forward to this. We used to have ethnicity estimate filtering years ago. For a number of reasons, it was withdrawn. So it's been a long time coming, but I'd like to cheer loudly. I had a great day because I had about 4 new things turn up in one day, which just blew me away, but I didn't get them all at once either. So I got repeatedly excited in one day. The next exciting news was about the sort functionality. So some of you with Fee have been rolled out this, and I'm really sorry, Fee, I know you haven't got it yet. You might notice these little double-headed arrows. I've been sending feedback about this for probably as long as I've been an Ancestry customer, which is coming up nearly 20 years. I would just love to sort the found set. I've actually gone to Roots Tech a number of times. I've talked to the database people behind the scenes there, and they do explain the vast quantities of data and the processing power that actually means it wasn't feasible or possible whenever I've gone and asked them. Except the last Roots Tech, which I didn't attend, but I watched Krista Cowan actually talking about multiple behind the scenes upgrades to streamline things behind the scenes so they could do more functionality. And clearly, this is the sort of changes of functionality we're seeing because of the multiple behind the scenes changes. So it's huge change. And I'd like you to note not only can you click on that drop down arrow, you need to read this bit. The information tells me column sorting applies to one page at a time. So I have my page set to 50, so I get the whole page sorted when I use that tool. I will come back later in the year with a tip when this is fully rolled out. But in the meantime, not every data set is the same. So this tool is available within a single data set. So I hope you all remember how to find the card catalogue and find a specific data set. And then you'll see on this one, there's a lot more arrows. Unlike the first data set was a military one, this is a immigration one. I also went and had a look at some electoral rolls. And what I loved about this double header one in this case is I get 4 different ways of sorting them. Sorting by first name or last name, and I can do it in reverse sort, which is really handy when you've got 20,000 results and their surname was Z. It's really useful tool. But notice the electoral date has an arrow on it, so does the address, so you can work your way through. Now, if I chose to sort this on alphabet A to Z, you'll notice this guy's popped up the top, And actually, that means that the J and the S are in the surname field because he's turned up at the top. I also love the way the address is here. Um, I might not have found them if I was looking too narrowly for a specific address. It looks like this street address may have been mistranscribed in 1889, or maybe they moved next across the road because it would have been across the road, not next door. Things to investigate, but there's quite a few uh, in this particular set of data. When I also sort of on street address, you'll see I got a reverse number. I did a reverse for the fun of it. And then I did another sort to look down further to see the middle names and how they came up. And again, this street address on another page, zeros. So you need to flick through the pages at the bottom and resort each page, but that's surely better than no sorting whatsoever. So a reminder here, of course, is to remember you need to reset to change between choices and that you just get one page sorted at a time. I hope some of you have got that already, and we'd love to hear in your comments if you've got it and how useful you're finding it. What I'd meant to start talking about this month was about the benefits of sorting by collection. So regularly with the Barefoot Genealogist, and many of us have shouted back at the screen, use the card catalogue. So clicking on search, you'll see the very bottom choice down there is the card catalogue. And in case you need to see it up large, I've even made it bigger for you. But each single area is what Ancestry calls a collection. Are there benefits of searching by collection rather than the usual search or records at the top? And there sure are. So let me show you what one of those screens looks like. And I just literally picked the first one in the list, census and voter lists. You guys can go and have a play with all the others to see how they vary. But notice before we go and do any searching, we're going to read the whole screen to see how a collection varies from an individual data set. So it's giving me some tools on the right that I can narrow this down further. Because this first screenshot is from the .com.au server, it's focused towards me with the Australian information at the top. If I scroll down further, I'll see the different fields that I can automatically use to filter my search. But again, because I'm on Australia, I've now got all the Australian and New Zealand local area specific collections, which again I could drill into, or I could look at everything, but I don't want to do that right now. What I want to do is show you how it looks on other servers, because we're all drilling back to the same Ancestry data sets. It's just how they're presented on the screen. So if I'm in Canada, I'm going to see those Canada sites at the top. So that's the .ca. You'll see the featured collections that they're drawing on. And again, if I why did that not? If I head off to the UK, you'll see the titles even change slightly because the terminology in that country is different. And there's those UK collections I can check out. Again, scrolling down, it's interesting here. I see a different order of collections, including the ones that are free. So I don't know if you knew, but there's quite a few free data sets within the Ancestry environment. So heading back generically, let's look at the UK census collection. And again, I'm scrolling down and seeing all the different nuances which I might want to add, because maybe I'm looking for my Richard, whose father was Thomas and whose mother was Anne, but I can never find them, so I want to put them in and maybe a year and leave a surname out. There's lots of nuances. I might want to be specific about gender. The best part actually about scrolling all the way down is you can look on an address. So if you can't find them by name, you could just type the address in here and just use it in the keyword field. And less is more. Don't put all the numbers in front, and maybe you don't even want to work the whole word avenue. You might just want to put the actual street that you know. So there's lots of different nuances within here. And the other one that I liked was maybe I'm just missing a series from a particular time frame. So rather than narrowing by place, I could just pick all the 1900 censuses. So what does that look like? So if I click on that, and I was on the .ca server, you'll see on the left it looks familiar. But on the right, it's showing me a browse catalogue with a tick box. So if I don't want to limit myself to just Canada, I can untick that and it will show me all the 1900 census that it's going to be searching. And we need to remember it's census and voting lists or census and electoral rolls. It's just a generic term at this point. So who knew that you could search data sets from Mexico and France and Ireland? And some of you might be yelling at me, they're going, I don't want those. Do you know whether your ancestor happened to be travelling and it was in some other location on census night? Is that why you can't find them in the 1910 or the 1911 census? Because a lot of people travelled in that pre the Great War period, and they travelled all over the place. There's a huge number of English people and Welsh people in particular I found in Mexico. So don't cut your nose off the spite this face. If you cannot find a particular period of census registration that you should be able to find, you may want to come and try this time frame choice and get a global search around these data sets. Just for experiment's sake, I went off to signed into the .co.uk site, and to show you it's the same thing, I'm going to get United Kingdom, Ireland, and Europe automatically sorted. But if I literally want to go out to Australia and include the USA, and people moved about a lot, particularly across the pond, as people up over I want to call it. So here's another, I'm going back to the place where they call it the census and electoral rolls. And I just wanted to show you the benefit of doing this mid-level search. So we're not doing a top-level search, unsearch all, and we're not doing a specific search in a specific data set. We're literally doing a collection search. And Richard Saville, who was born around 1816, and I've ticked the approximate box. I'm interested in the time frame he was back in England because he was from overseas. So I put in Essex, you'll see right at the bottom. And I did this because he was the most difficult man for me over the years to find all the census for in all the different periods of time. I can see all the census and it will help you, I hope, find the decade you're missing. Whether you're in Canada or you're looking in the USA or you're looking for the UK, those census documents, if you know they're coming on a regular basis and you're missing one, you might want to try this mid-level search of searching by collection. But last but not least, did you enjoy all the spelling variations here, Fee? Of particularly the 61 was the hardest to find because I never thought about typing an R for a V. I
I
kind of,
love your list there,
yeah,
Michelle. And it's a great thing to actually have and almost to put aside and write down somewhere else. So in your research planner or somewhere like that, to have a list of all the variations that you find in a database, because each one of those could be in a new collection or a new set of images that have come out and been transcribed.
yeah. And in this case, I couldn't find him on other sites either. And I eventually found the one in 51 where it's spelt with an L. It was spelt with an F on another site and a T on another site. So there's quite a list of variations, but I love this decade wide, or should I say century wide, mid-level search on a collection. So I hope that helps you all. Because next we're going to actually making use of building this kind of info into your trees. So over to you, Fee.
So, yes, I'm going to be talking about public member trees today, but we're going to do this in a slightly different way to start off with. So many of you know that I already have a tree on there where I add things that I have found. So this is in my pile of things that I have found in a second-hand shop. And they were two quite interesting documents, I guess, was what attracted me to them. The one on the left is inviting and pointing out that Miss E. Waldridge would have to have had a vaccination certificate before she can do document number 2 on the right-hand side, where she's going for some employment at the post office. So these are English-based documents. We're talking about the London telephone service here. But I just thought they were really interesting. I love the bus routes. I love all the social history around these documents just as much. So I want to be able to add these to my member tree. So I'm going to dive into my memories and time tree. Now, as discussed previously, this is a tree of a whole lot of little pieces of trees, and they're not connected to each other at all. So first of all, I need to get someone into here, and the easiest way I find is actually just to add this mystery person in. So I'm going to add a daughter in here. I'm going to call them EE because I don't actually know their name. Woodridge, and I'm going to check that I've spelt that right because that will help. And I'm just going to save them. Now I know she is not a daughter of Mr. Partridge. So I can quickly go to her and I can change that relationship. And straight away, remove Emily and George as being her parents. And as I've done before, I'm going to add one of my custom tags, which is that this is a floating tree. So that's all done as well. So she's now floating in my family tree. Now, if you've watched the last couple of tips, I talked about adding documents into your gallery. So I'm going to go to the gallery for EE Woolridge, and I'm going to add these couple of documents in. So I'm going to start with just dragging from my folder, which I've got on another screen, this document here, which is the letter. Oh, that's really annoying when there's no preview, isn't it, Michelle? But I know what
Yeah.
it was because I gave it a really good name. So I'm going to just put in here, post office. Oh, you shouldn't type live.
Oh no.
Letter.
No, that's normal for both of
Woolridge.
us.
The document is dated the 23rd of March 2020, 1935, and the location is London. We'll just go with London, London. And I'll come back and put the document description in later on. So I'm just going to start with one, but you see how I've actually done that. So that's all done. There is a document in here. It's just really annoying that you can't see it, but I'm going to have a tip about that. So watch out for that in the next couple of weeks. Now, it's great that I know that she applied for a job at the post office, but I still don't actually know Miss Woolridge's name. And so that made me think, and Michelle was talking about the card catalogue. And I just wondered, was there any chance that in this card catalogue there was anything to do with the post office? And I've taken off the only research records from Australia, and I'm just going to go search. Oh, okay. I've got lots of post type words. Let's try post office. Oh, I've got a London post office directory. Okay, so you can see how I'm getting this down. So I'm going to go and try under schools, directories, and church histories, because I know that that's where business stuff ends up as well. Society and employment directory sounds really good. Oh, that's starting to look a little bit better, but let's go to England as well. Oh, hang on. What about this one, Michelle? Post
Yeah, I
office
like it.
service appointment books. So it's amazing what you can do when you go through that card catalogue and just look to see, can you find something? So I know that her last name is Woolridge.
It's a common transport company in the UK, and quite a few branches came down here. My niece married one. You didn't
Okay.
know that.
No, I didn't know that at all. Your niece might want these documents.
I just need to say there's always a relative in the room.
Hey, but what I like is I had a
Yeah,
1935 document, and look at that. There is an LCE in 1935. Now,
and it
little
matches the
sneaky
year.
hint, sometimes these take a bit to work your way through the document, and you can guarantee whatever end you look at, it will be the opposite end. But up here, I've got Woolridge LCE. The situation to be nominated, I think that is an abbreviation for telephonist. And I think this is the London Telephone School or the London something in there. Now, really interesting in this because we always would do this as well. Before we got into this, what else would we do, Michelle?
Oh, well, this depends on how you work.
But I would probably scroll down. So
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that collection and actually have a wee bit more of a look at it because down here there is actually a guide to the Postal Museum's website and their abbreviations. So you may want to check out those as we dive into this as well. So always have that look, always go down, always find what you're finding. But I'm
And
going
when
to
you
save
want to
this.
forget, remember.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to save this now because my Elsie all of a sudden now has a name. Now, the only problem with this when I'm saving it to the tree at this stage is it's not really adding a lot of information. It's just sort of adding the source more than anything else. So what I would also do to this, because nothing has appeared here as such, I would add something in the occupation field and talk about the post office in here as well. So even if I'm only putting in the 1935 and putting in the post office telephones, and I may put in London, and I can't spell telephones either. Um, and I could then attach a source for that. So I can add that in as my source. So there's a really good start, isn't it? I've now at
Absolutely.
least got a name for young Elsie. She's not this invisible EE any longer. Now, over time, this will start populating and it will start giving me hints. And if I dive back to my PowerPoint over here, because I did have a quick look to see what was happening, I started to find some trees coming up for a possible Elsie Waldridge with an Elizabeth. So that's quite good. Born in London, that looked quite good too. Yeah, I can cope with that. But then I looked a bit further and there was a few more Elsie Elizabeth Woodridge. And I looked a bit further and there was some more Elsies. And so this starts to go, okay, what am I looking at here? So what can I eliminate is where I started with. So I looked at these and I thought, well, someone who is born in 1922 is unlikely to be getting a job at the age of 13 in the post office. So I decided that that set of trees at the moment, I would quite happily take out of my list. Then I got left with these two collections, and what was really interesting is both of these sort of groupings of trees had the same spouse with the same years that the spouse was alive, 1912 to 2008. So both seemed to marry an Elsie Woodridge to an Arthur Henry George Taylor. But when you look closer, they have quite different dates of birth, place is still consistent, marriage is consistent, but die in quite different places as well, both down under, but one in Australia and one in New Zealand. And so this got me thinking, well, how can I trust any of these trees? What do I have to do to trust these trees? And what do I have to do by myself without looking at these? So you want to be able to go and investigate and use these as hints to sort of lead you somewhere. So looking at those, I decided I was going to perhaps look at this collection that seemed to have this person die in New Zealand because I'm in New Zealand and that's where the documents ended up. And that made a lot of sense to me. So sometimes when we're talking about things that are relatively modern, we're only talking 2017 here, the collections themselves on the databases aren't going to perhaps go that far. So I went off outside of Ancestry and did just a straight Google search, and I was able to find an obituary online for Elsie, which noted that her husband was Arthur Henry George Taylor. I've cropped this, so I've taken out any details of living people. I'm just giving you Elsie and the late Arthur. So we're okay there. So looking at that, I now know that there is a good chance that Elsie is married to Arthur and is the one that dies in New Zealand. So I went to the New Zealand BDM indexes that are also online and freely available to search. I looked for Elsie initially, and found her there, dying in 2017. Surname Taylor, you'll note. But also the fact that her date of birth is given as the 14th of December 1917. Now, that could be wrong because it could have been a date that everyone thought was her birthday. So this is only what the informant knew. And I also found the death of Arthur as well in 2008, again with his dates of birth. So I can take those sources now and I can go back to my family tree and I can at least add that information in with where I got it. So I'm just going to do a quick edit on Elsie. I've got those on my other screen, so I can still see them for where I'm magically getting these dates from. So December 1917. I don't know where she's born at the moment, not from these records anyway. And I've got a death date of 2017, which I know is registered in New Zealand. And I can save that. And I will go off and do the same for the spouse. But what I like to do on here is, because there is no record in here, I like to sort of give a little bit of information as to where I found this information. So this is off the New Zealand Birth, Death, Marriage Index. It's the death registration. And if I just open my other screen, and I'll just go and get that little piece of information for us.
It's interesting. We've never talked about this. I do the same thing. I put
You do the
I
same
do it
thing?
for free BMD. Wherever
Yep.
if I see anything on another website, I actually cut and paste just like that too. And I always make sure I call it an online index so I know where the source was.
Yeah. So now I know where I got this. And the really good thing is, because this actually gave me two pieces of information, both the birth and the death, I can use the same piece of description in both.
Ditto.
So I'm going to be building up this tree a little bit further with regard to, adding enough information in there. My main aim is to be able to get these documents back to other people so that they can see them. So I will be building this tree a little bit further. But it does raise that question, Michelle, of what do you do when you find a tree that isn't the tree as such? It looks wrong. How do we tell people that the trees are wrong or different, etc.?
And I know you're saying, how do we tell them? And I'm going to say, should we tell them? So there's a lot of consideration here. If the person's current and actively researching, I might approach them in a message, but I usually, well, I know I'd never do it now, but you learn the hard way when you don't know what you're doing. Sometimes you just tell people they're wrong. That never works. People don't want to hear that. So if you do feel it's important to correct somebody else's tree, how often do you like being told you're wrong? It's to me best to say, I've got this information. I'd love to know where you got your information, because I'd like to verify what I found. So you can be questioning yourself, or you could just straight out ask them for the evidence they happen to have that supports the way their tree is constructed, whatever the relationship you're seeing that's clearly wrong. The interesting thing to me in that set of the first person that had them dying, last century, not this century, they had 25,000 people in their tree and almost no records compared to the tree you saw in New Zealand, because that was another filtering to me flag was, I want to look at the tree that's got less people in it but lots of records, because
Mhm.
I'm more likely to find that somebody's done active research of documents rather than indexes. But how do you prefer to approach people where you see there's an error?
I'm absolutely with you with regard to, can we compare how we've researched and the results that we've got, because mine's different to yours. But I think the biggest thing that I find is that it depends on how close this is to the person doing the research. If it's a direct ancestor, direct family, often they'll be quite keen to update, to change, to make it correct. But if it's someone who it's the cousin of the cousin and the married in somebody, and it's just been attached to their tree almost because they've accepted a hint and they've got this extra person sort of thrown into the tree, they may not be as keen to do any changes. We also have the, are they actively researching, as you said? Do they read their messages? There's a lot of things out there that can slow someone down. Is it where they're concentrating at the moment, etc.? Now, because I am wanting to get these documents hopefully to the wider family, I will probably contact some of the closer ones and say, look, they'll probably start getting them as document hints for starters. But I have in the past put together a proof statement. So actually gone through the process of putting together a proof statement, creating a document, attaching it to my tree, explaining what I've done and why it's different, and offered to send this to other people. This was on a totally different tree. It was with some work I was doing with a client. And I found records that other people hadn't accessed, which explained two men that had exactly the same name, but were quite different people. And so by doing that, I did manage to get a lot of trees changed because they went, well, that makes more sense. So, yeah, it's amazing what you can do just through polite communication. But I might try that over this next month and perhaps come back and report back to you in our next
Yeah.
webinar in
And
September.
there's something else, a great idea, because something else that made me think of, reminded me of that not everyone's actively researching. Some people, unfortunately, have passed away.
Mm,
So you can use the comments section on a profile on a public tree, and you can put a comment that means that other people will see it about whatever the information is that you have to share, and you can include in that a website link to the document. Because you may not have editor rights, so you can't upload your proof statement, but you certainly could link to where it is. Um, but sometimes it's also a case. I think for me the most important thing is we are not the internet police or the genealogy police, no matter who we are. And unless we're being breaching some other rules outside of family history research, everybody has the right to do things their way. There's no point in being angry about it. And
no.
that's what I do see. Some people get very angry about things that are wrong or that it's their tree. We're all there doing our best and we're all learning. We don't know what we have missed in our learning experience unless you've actually actively gone out and done a large amount of education, as Fiona and I have done. There would have been times we'd have both made mistakes in our trees, I'm sure. And
Mm.
if we publish them as easily as we can nowadays, certainly when I started in the 80s and you started in the 80s, we didn't have these tools. So our mistakes, thankfully, on pieces of paper somewhere, maybe not kept. But
And
yeah,
I think you're right. This comes back to what I was discussing, I think, last month about we don't have the pencil to show things that we're guessing compared to things that we know in proof. And so I think that's an interesting change in how we've done genealogy in the past to how we now do genealogy now and into the future, is how we tell people what we've proved and what we haven't proved. So getting those sources in as much as possible is fantastic. But we'll see how we go with trying to help other people find these documents in particular.
and it's interesting too that the last session I recorded, the hints that I was finding had major mistakes in the trees and they were the wrong people. And you've done the same. It happens a lot. So I suppose if the one takeaway for those of you watching today's session is don't accept hints from other people's trees without verifying.
Absolutely. So we will be back again every Friday with a webinar, a tip, or news. Next time we meet, it will be news. No, tip, tip. I'll be
Tips.
back with a tip next
It's
time.
you.
It's me next time. So watch out for that tip because I'm going to tell you how to deal with those pesky PDF files that you really want them to be JPEGs instead. So we'll see you with that. Thank you for joining us with Ancestry Unpacked.
And we'll look forward to seeing you at the same bat channel next week. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments or over on Facebook on our Talking Family History page. And if you belong to a family history society, these are designed to be free to share with your members in meetings, not just for you to view personally at home. And we'd like to thank Ancestry for their support in having this channel available to us all.